Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the best podcast for the business and marketing side of the sawmill, lumber, and wood industry. What's a woodpreneur? If you have a business where you make money as a woodworker, sawmill owner, selling slabs, or a content creator, then you're a woodpreneur. My name's Steve Larziliere, and I started Woodpreneur Life, Acres of Timber, and the Woodpreneur podcast just for makers, wood entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're on a mission to empower thousands of wood businesses to grow sustainably and put out great products. Each week, I interview makers, sawyers, content creators, and 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that know the wood industry inside and out. With topics covering everything from the urban lumber movement, sustainable sourcing and design, we'll discuss the ins and outs of how to grow, monetize, and fully immerse yourself in the woodpreneur lifestyle. If you're a hobbyist, a full-time wood business owner, part-time entrepreneur who wants to become a content creator, or quit your day job to pursue your dreams, the Woodpreneur podcast is just for you. Thanks so much for listening. Now enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. It's your host, Steve, and today's guest is Brian Presnell from Indy Urban Hardwood. How you doing, Brian?
What's happening? Thank you so much for having us on here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. So tell us, how'd you get started? Tell us the origin story of Indy Urban Hardwood.
Well, I grew up here in Indianapolis, Indiana. For some of you that know, that's the home of the Woodpreneur sawmill. I went to Herring School of Art and Design. It's part of IUPUI here in Indianapolis. And I studied furniture and sculpture back in the 90s. I graduated in 95. 97, I started working at art museums here in the city and installing the collections, working in the design department. So I would primarily handle all the artwork you would see when you visit these spaces. And I spent about almost 20 years moving art around the community and then outside of Indiana. I traveled around and worked for different art handling companies around the country, more or less. It was exciting. I got to handle, world-renowned pieces. To have the curator say, "Brian, go get the Rembrandt out of the vault," was always a weird feeling for me. But I got really informed on design. I learned a lot from those places about art history and, especially things like mid-century design. We did a few shows with like a lot of Knoll furniture and Herman Miller furniture, and I was all about it. I love George Nakashima's work. I was making lagged edge furniture in the early 90s because I loved Nakashima so much. One thing I love to say is when I learned about that type of furniture, like Wharton Eschrick and Nakashima and Wendell Castle, it was because Phil Tennant, my professor at Herring, he had a really good slide library. And this was before the internet, you see. You had to go to the library and look at little slides with a loop. And so there I was in the quiet back room with this horde of amazing slides. Alphonse Mattia, Judy Mackay, Gary Knoxville, he just passed away. Shout out to Gary Knoxville. So I learned kind of from the old guard of studio craft artists how to approach woodworking. Right out of that, I go move art from museums, and I'm handling art history from all eras of human. Pretty much everything is a general collection museum. You have things from Egypt and pre-Columbian all the way to brand new, last week. So I really got informed about design and how to do things from them. I built a lot. We had all the exhibits you had to manufacture, and I recycled stuff out of it. Museums would throw away pedestals or plywood or stuff. I was keeping pieces to make stuff. Then they did a renovation at the museum, and they cut some trees down for their parking garage. And I went to the head of horticulture, Mark Zalonis, and I asked him if we could try to bring a saw in from Woodmiser. And so we brought a guy, Earl Tinchner, over, and he sawed up wood right there in the parking lot. And that was in 2000. So really, for me, maybe the first time I was interested in urban lumber was back in 2000, but it took, 17 years for me to grow as a person, get old enough to be able to take on something like this. And once the hashtags were coming out, once I started seeing urban lumber buzz a little bit, especially on Instagram, I started following it, and I was like, wait a minute. And really nobody in Indianapolis was doing it like in a big way. I mean, there were a few people that would get saws brought into their properties, cut wood, try some wood, but there wasn't a ton of people doing it. Now, there's a guy, Hood Farm Sawmill. Anybody wants to go on Instagram, look up Hood Farm. He's got an LT, he's got the WM1000. He's got the big saw on the train tracks. He's cutting the biggest logs we have in Indiana. He's got 2 eye-dry kilns. I really like Adrian. He's a great dude. They've got a heck of a setup. When you can come in a game like that, get 2 vacuum kilns and a $100,000 saw, well, you can do some things. This little urban lumber kit we started with an old saw, a 1990 LT30. It had an Onan motor. For people that really know about them saws, it was like a fragile motor. You didn't want to blow it up because you can't get parts for it. And we didn't have a forklift. We didn't have a trailer. Like when I first started cutting in 17, I went from moving Calder sculptures to like dragging logs around with a quad runner. We were really trying some different things to make it work. I got enough gumption to call Woodmiser. I looked up the head of marketing on LinkedIn and I hit her up and I went and visited with them and had a meeting. And I said, hey, I really want to do something here in the city. And they were receptive. They were like, that's cool. What do you need? And I was like, well, give me a kiln. And it was kind of a joke because they didn't know me. Some guy, I called him up and give me a kiln. He said, no, we can't do all that. But we'll try to help you. And so they called me a few weeks later and they were like, look, we're going to do an urban lumber series of videos. And we want to visit with you first. We want you to be episode 1. And I mean, here I am, not even a year into this really. And they want to do a video. And boom, we get on the front page of the Indy Star, which is our big paper here in Indianapolis. And the video they put on their website gets like 30,000 views. Like some things started happening within the first 6-8 months where I'm downtown in a makerspace. There's all kinds of people coming and going on First Friday. Like we're getting out there. The newspaper finds out, they make it a front page story. That's amazing. For an artist to get the front page in Indy is almost impossible. You know what I mean? If I'm not racing a car or throwing a football, I got little to no chance of getting on the front page. And here I was.
You just said the most Indiana thing ever.
You know what I mean? Like, give me a break. So here I was, the Indy Star. Shout out to Indy Star. They were amazing. They put me above the fold. I'm standing with a wood pile. It's nuts. And Woodmiser drops a video like right after that. And, it was heartfelt. We went to a friend of mine's house, Sam Ruff. This is a house I grew up going to as a kid. He's got a bunch of big trees, and some of them got knocked down. And we went over to cut some of them. And Woodmiser, they were like 1 mile from that house. Like I grew up right across the street from the place in this really bad apartment complex. And here it is, many years later, they're doing a film. It was pretty wild, honestly. It was a wild experience to go from, hey, I think we could flip some trees and save some of this stuff to like, yo, this is an important part of the community. So
talk about, I don't want to say it's necessarily a circle of life, but it's almost like a testament, like especially when you're an entrepreneur and you have an idea and you're putting stuff out there, it's kind of like, you know what, maybe I am on the right path. Maybe I am supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And, I'm saying this to you because you already know it, but like, I'm also saying it to everybody that's listening is that like on your path to being a woodpreneur, there's always going to be like the ups and downs. And when you have these little moments where like you had some, like, not necessarily courage, but like you reached out and things happen. Right. And so like,
yeah,
good opportunities happen when you take action. Right. And so,
totally.
yeah, that's amazing, man.
I think I've tried to say this to people if I mentor. I went back to Heron and helped for a while, helped run the galleries, and I was around a lot of the kids that were going through the school at the time. I was much older. I've been through a lot of stuff. I said to them, if a door opens, run through it. Act like you're supposed to be there. Somebody will find you and they'll help you. Yeah, that's it. Like, that's the only reason why I'm in my slot is because I try to run and get out of the, situations I grew up in. I grew up in a pretty crazy place. And so to be on this side of it and helping build out these local restaurants and bars and all these local places that are fixtures in our city now, like I used to move art for the museums, that was a really interesting educative thing. Once the recession hit, I had to take the white gloves off and go help these people that were starting to build out what happened in the last decade. A lot of cities, the food scene got hot. The music scenes have gotten much better. I've had my hand in a lot of helping that as far as building out the spaces. Because many of the young entrepreneurs that are my friends, they didn't have big budgets to go build out these chain restaurants or these fine steakhouses. They didn't have that kind of money, but they had a good idea. They had a good chef. They had a good brand, whatever, I would try to help them. So we would go find wood on Craigslist or wherever we could to help get the prices down. I mean, I've been to many barns outside of Indianapolis to buy wood, $1 a board foot, where it's like 9 and 10 and more at the retailers. Nothing against the retailers. They help support us when we need the material right now. But if the people don't have the money, you got to find a way. And kind of grew out of all of those experiences and all those years, over a decade of building out these spaces. I kind of caught wind, the ash trees were dying here in Indy. 15% of the trees in my county, 54 square miles, 15% of the trees died. It was insane. Like once I recognized the trees, I couldn't shut up. People were around, they were annoyed by how much I talked about the trees. But I knew these were, Louisville slugger. That's been making ball bats for 100 years out of these trees. I'm like, wait a minute, man. We start cutting ash and it was everywhere. And I mean,
once you see trees, you can't unsee them. It's
once you see it for real, it's a wrap. And here we go. Now we got walnut and hickory and cherry and box elder and all these different woods. Hackberry. I didn't know much about hackberry prior to jumping on the saw. And so here we go. We run a KD 250 kiln. I drive about 4,000 board feet a month. I got a LT 40 wide. I can cut around 30 inches max. Now I can run to Adrian Hood over there, talk to him if I got some monster log, but we're pretty good in doing book matches. We got a lot of work in the book match lane. I got a few friends, one guy here, Wonderful Wood, Charlie, he's a little maniac, and he's got a chainsaw that do about 50-inch bar, and he cuts some 3-inch thick stuff that's big. I mean, 4 feet wide. He's a wild kid because
heavy stuff. Yeah. And you got to be young. You got to be young to be a chainsaw miller.
He's 30. He might be 38, bro. I don't know. This dude, I'm always surprised when he comes around because the pieces are big, and I'm just like, you are at war. I just, we didn't have a forklift for the first year, so that was nuts. This guy, he's out in the woods doing this. It's a different animal. So yeah, there's some characters around here that are doing it. I think we're the biggest as far as having a retail space. We're in a gallery right now. We got a gallery in our space. We got big area out back. We can store logs and saw. This is a little different than, I had started out in a garage with 20 amps and I moved my extension cord around. When I'm graduated from the college and I'm starting to work in the museums, I didn't have a studio. I lost like the biggest shop of my life with the Heron shop, to little get out and go to Lowe's now, So I didn't give up. I just kept staying at it,
Yeah.
And here it is, this many years later.
How are you getting the word out? And who are your customers, locally?
Social media's been the biggest thing for us. It's for everybody, really, social media. I also believe that the word of mouth was already kind of there because of the people that I knew in the art community. Once I left the museum field, I was really right next to, I knew designers already. And the thing is, I installed art for museums, but I used to leave the museums at night and go hang for the other museums or the small university galleries or the collectors or the philanthropists, like the Simons who owned all the Simon malls. They have 200 shopping malls they own. They had a 75,000 square foot house that I got to hang with Andy, the guy. Me and Andy work here together. Me and him moved art at the museums forever. But we would leave at 5 and go over to the billionaire's house and start, where do you want your Fragon art? Where do you want your Monet? Crazy, And so, because if you're a collector, okay, and you got the money to buy a painting, you're not just going to have your trim guy or whoever hang it for you. You might have a handyman that runs around your mansion, but he ain't going to touch your Alice Neal painting. So I'm over here like, yeah, I can come over, and we would charge them 50 an hour or whatever we thought we could get. And you know, it was a hustle for us. I was making $8 at the museum, and then at night I could go maybe get 50 or 100 off of a millionaire and hang his painting. He thought it was curry. It was everything was all good. And so that's kind of how we came out of it. I mean, I used to laugh that we didn't have art in my house. I grew up in the hood. Like, we didn't have anything like that.
Yeah.
5 years later, I'm telling people where to, oh, it looks good over the couch if you hang it right here. You know, like I know, like I'm some kind of know-all, you know? It was really funny. So, I mean, for me, as much as I'm a wood guy, I'm a designer and a maker and a furniture kid. I have time. I got a degree in furniture design. So like that the wood was going to waste. I don't know. I love it. I love that we're in the middle of it like this. But I have aspirations to design and make things that are of their own and not just what the client might need or what's hot right now. You know, I got charcuterie boards out the wazoo over here, but after you make, you know, 1,000 a year for a couple of years straight, boy, it's a little bit of a struggle when you have an idea in your head that you think should be a design, you know, in Miami or something like that. So I'm always struggling with that in my own mind outside of what the business does. It's hard to run a company. It's hard to keep up with it and be on top of all the stuff that you're supposed to. It's really hard.
Absolutely. And, so we got something in common. So in college, I was an art hanger too, and so
no kidding.
I worked at this gallery in a mall on Long Island in New York, and I was that kid in college driving around a van with like $100,000 worth of art in New York City, and and it's a wild experience because like one part of my job was to hang the gallery. And so I had to always like keep the gallery fresh. And it's really fascinating because you like sit back, you look at a wall, you look at the paintings and you're like, okay, how can I make this work and make it flow and tell a story? And then I'd have to like wrap the art, and then like, God forbid, like you nick a frame, like, oh my God. Like, man. And then I drive to these gajillionaires' houses, and they're like, can you hang that there? And you're like literally standing on their bed over their headboard. And you're like, please don't mess this up.
Right. Oh no, I did all of that for 20 years.
Oh my God. I probably did it for like 3, but like, wow, it's a crazy experience, right?
I want to tell you this though. This is for you too. Like, I was like pretty deep into my career, and I left the museums here in Indianapolis. Maybe I'd outgrown the nest or something. I was freelancing a lot. I'd work up at Navy Pier. I have friends like Safe Art Transport is over in Astoria in Queens. That's Werner Lederer, a good friend of mine. He owns an art handling company in New York. There was another Art Creating Incorporated, all that. So I thought I was going to leave Indianapolis. I knew these guys. I'd met them from the museums. So here I go. I'm going to go to New York and move art. It was like I ran into a brick wall. Indianapolis is great. There's some great community of art here. There's great collectors, whatever, people's collections you can brag about. It's all there, right? But it's just not Manhattan. It's like 12 times, 15 times bigger. So I get to Manhattan and I work like 16-hour days. You're just standing there eating a sandwich in the corner. I worked at Gagosian Gallery for 2 weeks straight, tearing down John Chamberlain's show. Like Cy Twombly died. They said, oh God, we got to get a Twombly out. We got like a 20-foot Twombly in 5 minutes. Like, I was used to moving art. I've been doing it for years. The pace in New York was mind-boggling. You know, when you looked at the website, the trucks looked amazing and clean. That was the first day they bought the trucks. Within a week, they'd been tagged and wrecked and knocked into it. You know, it's a different ball game in Manhattan. You know, the country boy went out there, and I was standing outside of like Grand Central, and I was like, yo, I want a garden. I want to make furniture. I'm not going to do this. And I walked away from the art game and really turned the corner and started making these spaces here in town, helping people. But I was like this close to saying, I don't have kids. I can go wherever. I'm going to move to New York and do it and travel to the Venice Biennale or whatever. It didn't happen. I stayed in Indy, and look what we got now. We're rolling.
It's, you know, it's interesting. So like there's like you know, like you're one of the first, there's a couple people like you. You're like the woodpreneur, but like approaches it from an artist mentality. There's like a craftsman mentality. There's also just like a maker mentality and like a fixer, tinker upper mentality. But then there's like something about design, right? And so like, for you, it's like, it's a little bit of like your own personal style and flair, like your like physical style and flair. It's also in how you approach your craft. So a table isn't just a table. It's like an opportunity to put your stamp and your mark on it, right? Like your charcuterie boards aren't your charcuterie boards. It's a statement piece that will live in somebody's house for a while. Like, I mean, can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, some of that, as you go on, you learn it at the log, the way that you cut the material. I learned a lot about how to expose crotch grains and figure. And when we get a special log, we take our time to try to look at it differently. So like when you're talking about really high-end stuff, you're getting into figure and spalting and ambrosia and all the beautiful things that we can find in some of our specialty woods. To me, a straight pipe walnut log is a straight pipe walnut log. It looks great, but it doesn't have the sexy curves of something that had a limb fall off of it 80 years ago or whatever. And so, for me, I feel like in some ways I worked with curators and designers for 20 years. I mean, I've said before, I've probably worked with 50 or 60 curators, and some of them for over a decade. I mean, Ellen Lee, the chief curator at the Indianapolis Museum of Art, she probably taught me more than anybody. Mm-hmm. And that lady was so elegant and so well measured, and her aesthetics, proportion, the way you could lay a room out, the way she thought about how people flow through the room. I didn't know nothing, but I was just a sieve. I was just taking it in, like, whoa. And so when I got a chance to maybe bring back what I had learned at Heron and mingle it with what these designers and curators have shown me, we have our aesthetic, we have what we like doing. I got lucky that Live Edge got hot because I was so in love with it anyway. I loved Live Edge years ago. I've been doing Live Edge furniture since the early 90s, looking at George and the slides, like to see a fake table at West, thought, gosh, George must be spinning in his grave like he's on a wood lathe. This is unbelievable. What happened? And I think that trend's going to have its day. I don't know how much longer it's going to hold weight. Like, it's been going on since I've seen Japanese furniture from the 17th century that has Live Edge on it. So it ain't nothing new. But as trends go, where's the futon, everybody? You still got your futon? Where'd that go? So I hope it doesn't go down that quick, because I like how they look. I'm a fan.
I really like how they look. Yeah, absolutely.
When everybody's doing them in their garage on Marketplace, and the prices are at $100 for a epoxy table, I don't know what to do with these characters. I'll sell them a board, but I just, oh my gosh, must be nice not having overhead like when I was a kid. I got all these problems now. You got to keep the shop open.
Yeah. That's interesting. What has been the biggest challenge in running your business the past 5 years?
Oh man. Well, I think you.
Well, how big? First off, how big is your team? How many people you got around you?
There's 5 of us that are here. I'd say 4 full time, and then we have a person that comes in and helps out with the wood sales. Nothing weirder than being working on a custom order and have to go up and sell a one walnut board. It'll blow your day. Like it's weird to stop and go back and forth. I didn't know that when I started all this. I signed up for milling wood, making, getting a kiln, drying, and making cool things. I didn't really realize about the retail end. I didn't know half of what I was getting into. We're well branded. Jason Ratliff, one of my good friends, he was a designer at one of the museums I worked at, the Idle Joy. We became really good pals, and that guy's an amazing illustrator and designer. I'll be like, Jason, I want to do a T-shirt that looks like the city flag. Indianapolis city flag has a look. Our logo is based on the city flag. The next day he shoots me the logo. It's amazing. It's what we're using. He's designed some of our shirts. We got Dan Thompson, Invisible Hometown. Look up Invisible Hometown on Instagram. Danny, he's a kid that went to my same high school I went to. He's a graffiti artist and an illustrator. He's amazing. He came over and did the Beaver logo for us, like in 4 hours freehand with Montana. He's no joke. We got a crew of art people right here that are my people, my boys, my brothers.
Yeah.
They can help me make this thing look tight outside of the furniture being hot. the way we kind of present ourselves, I think is fun and has some flair to it. Our logos and designs are good. I think me being an artist has been the biggest holdup for this company because I'm not a business person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an artist, and I will spend every dime I got on this to make it work. I probably could have hung it up several times just because, but I'm crazy. I'm like, no, I'll go down with the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to build restaurants and bars, y'all, and the pandemic happened. Think about this. If you look at my Instagram feed, look at the video I dropped in February of 2020. In January, they were doing a documentary about me. My friends at 12 Star Media did a 1 hour movie about me. It's nuts. It was about the wood company, and then all this crap happened, right? But more or less, in January of 20, I go, hey guys, I'm having a hard time. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay open. Like, I want to do a video. I want to do a short video for Instagram and Facebook that's very real. I don't want to say, look at the next table I built or look at my fancy restaurant I just did. That's how we all were being. Everybody was on Facebook showing their best. Your competitors, all of that stuff. You just got to show your best. Look at this new book match. Look at this big conference table, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Hashtag your way through it. All that was crazy to me. And I looked at the camera just like I'm looking at y'all, and I got vulnerable. I said, look, we might close. And I was talking to Indianapolis at large. Like, we own a sawmill company. We got trees spraying out of the ground that nobody's using. And I'm sitting on a gold mine of wood over here, and you guys ain't buying lumber. What is going on? That was in January. We filmed it. February 17th or something, we dropped it. March 17th, the world closed. A week later, the restaurateurs are straight-faced, looking at the camera. Hi, guys, my restaurant closed. I don't know if we're going to make it. These are the places I was building. I mean, I don't know if the artist empath in me saw this thing coming or what, but I thought we were done diddy. And pow, the world closes. That's half my clientele or more was these restaurants and bars. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do. My partner, Savannah, she was a chef. The pandemic shuts her down. She's got 2 children. She's not sure what's going to pop off. The money was coming from the government for a minute, but I said, hey, can you help me out? I'm kind of struggling. Savannah walked in this door. I had 2,000 unanswered emails. I was too busy trying to run the saw, dry the wood, and sell wood to be over here answering every email. And this thing switched. She started answering. She sold $40,000 or something within a few months. And that was just stuff I hadn't.
And this is your salesperson.
Yeah, it's my girlfriend, my life partner, and my office manager and gallery director.
Wow.
She flipped the script and saved us. Like, we're not making it by any means, but I'm telling you, I had people that owed me money. I had emails I couldn't keep up with. So for any of you that are struggling like that, you need help with your sales. I was struggling.
It's true. It's a sales problem. You just need to you need to sell. That's it.
I mentioned to Werner Lederer, my friend I mentioned a minute ago, that the art handler, he owns Safe Art Transport, and he was always there to support me. Say, you need a job, you come up to New York, I got you. I'll put you on. Here's what happens. He was like straight about it. You can work your ass off, you can work long hours, but this is what it is. And I always thought I had that as a safety net. But I went to visit, and I was talking to him like as a friend and a brother, and I was like, what am I going to do? I got all this wood. Da, da, da. He said, you need more help in sales. Like, he just said it like he already knew. He's a grown man. No, you need to do better in sales. He was dead right. It's like 10 years later, any of y'all that are struggling hard, you ain't doing sales right.
You're not.
You got to treat yourself. Right. You got to get your money. You got to treat the client with respect, but you got to tell them what you're worth and get that. You can't be out here doing these tables for cheap. Go look at all the bigs out here and see what their prices are online. If you ain't near that, you got no business doing this anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're not. I'm big. We can make a table fast. I'm not that big, but we're big enough. We can make a table pretty fast. You can't do that in a small one-man shop. I can get you too. So it's tough, man. I come up from, we didn't have nothing. You know what I mean? I've been recycling because I had to as an artist. To a point now where we got logs. I'm like, what are we going to do with all this wood? I'm trying to think about running a couple sawmen almost full time and getting after it. Because I got tree connections now. There's properties Indianapolis is still developing woodlots and the clear cut stuff and toss it. I'm just like, what are you guys doing? So I'm trying to be ethical,
Yeah.
more than anything. I only like getting trees that seem like they're ethically handled. One of the blessings, though, next door to us is keeping Indianapolis beautiful. They have a tree replanting program. So the energy company here, over 10 years, they're going to plant like 10,000 trees. So they plant a few thousand trees, 1,500 every year or whatever. And they teach high school kids how to, work in these parks, plant these trees, drive the trailers, water them, all this like park maintenance. That's what's really important to me is like some of that synergy we have in the building, and it just kind of happened. Like I didn't plan to be next to KIB. It just, you see these symbols, like you said, like why you're on your path. Like this is all making sense to me. My neighbors are putting trees down, and I'm saving. It's a wrap. I'm all in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, especially when you start to fall in love, not with your business and not even with the process, but with the potential. It's like you become unstoppable, right? Because you're really you start to see glimpses, right? Like, you grew up across the street from Woodmiser, next door is some trees, you end up on the newspaper, right? You're like, there's all these things, and then I would say the most important thing, and I freaking say this to everybody, is like, one is a brand, right? And you have your Indy urban hardwood.
Yeah.
So actually, number one is mindset. You need the right mindset. Number two is brand. Number three is a community around your brand. And you literally, throughout this whole entire interview, you drop like 5 names. You shouted out all of your friends, right? And you're also an artist, and that's community minded, right? And then the last thing is sales, right? So mindset, brand, community, sales, right? And so
yeah, totally.
So, and you literally described everything, and so that's awesome, man.
Like the brand's JML Guitar, Instagram. Look up JML. He's here in Indianapolis. He uses our wood mix. He's amazing guitars. I mean, there's some rockers using his. He does these neck grooves. I got by Personal Designs. It's a husband and wife team. They make a lot of stuff like they make some belt buckles. They make these trivets. They make all kinds of smaller stuff. Like they're into the wood. They're into the little pieces and how the grain. They're really amazing. And we got a pile of logs a mountain high. They'll find a little piece of wood and make something gorgeous out of it. Ash Blades, my good friend Eric, he makes these amazing knives. He's here. We tag him all the time. Ash Blades uses our wood, not exclusively, but I mean, 90% of what he's making is reclaimed urban lumber in the handles. And I give him some honey hole pieces. Like if we cut off some figure, I'm putting it in the pile for Eric. So he's got some winners over there. And his knives are slick. We got a couple and they cut through anything. I'm like, I grew up thinking a Ginsu was a good knife. You got to get an ash blade and learn something. It's great.
Cool. So Brian, this is a part of the interview where I help you out, and I give you any marketing or business advice. So is there something that has recently come up that you're struggling with, that you need to think through business or marketing wise?
How do we prep ourselves better to get our network of designers here? We're a regional company. We're not shipping a lot out. I mean, I built crates and shipped everything. That you said yourself. But like, how do we do a better job of reaching out to our designers? Like, do we create what kind of a package would you want to go drop, almost like on the different? Because there's some people here in the city still that are doing good work that don't know about us or haven't been over here yet. And I'm ready to like show them, hey, look what we can do. And then you can start adding the story that this is all recycled and reclaimed. This is upside down. So maybe some of that helped.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to take a page from your book, right? And so, about like putting together gallery shows, right?
Oh yeah.
And, what I would do is pick some times, like once a quarter. And I actually said this to some folks down in Atlanta, like literally, like make an event out of opening your kiln, make an event out of your finish of your milling. Like
Okay.
make an event around your process.
Yeah.
But you curate your space like it's a gallery. So like you show the process to finish, and you have art, you have art, you have cheese, you have music, you have wine, and you make it an event. And like you make some crazy obscene, like maybe everybody gets a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
swag them up, hit them with that swag.
And you invite them, and it's the Indianapolis designer, urban designer collective, like that, you call it like that, like just like the Indianapolis Urban Designer Collective, like, and it's like a club, and you have all these like designers that either they're square or they're hip,
people that want to network and stuff,
and they want to be around cool people. So like you just said, your friends are graffiti artists, your friends are this, and then you get your restaurant friends to like cater it, and so like they're in it too. And then you make it like a marketplace for you, your brand, your culture, and your own flavor within this community, right? So like I literally, so I'm like, you started talking about your logo and your hat that you're wearing. I literally went to your website, and I have the cart open, and I put my address in. There's no shipping options. I want to buy one of your hats because
we'll ship you a hat. Just pull the trigger, we'll ship it out. Some people steered me away from like going hard about internet sales, and maybe I'm making a mistake. I mean, some of our designs might be good enough we could sell multiples or something.
Well, I mean, your designs are cool, and your logo, but I think it's you and your personality, right? And so like for me, I'm also looking at your so let me just go back to your website, because again, it's I would love to see, let me just look at your news.
So let me mention.
I got it. So listen, I got it. So you do those quarterly events. You do those quarterly events. And I think you should also host your own podcast series. Just like this.
Been told that.
With Indianapolis designers and creatives, like creatives, artists, designers, people that you love and you like to sphere, Oh my God.
That's a good idea. I mean, at least for history and posterity, you know what I mean? Like, it's great. I'm an artist. We're doing paintings right now on the, at nights and weekends, whatever, when the boys can come over. I got 4 or 5 of the best artists in the city coming over and painting. We're all doing big canvases together and getting down, and nobody even knows. Here I am bragging, but nobody even knows. I think one thing that's great is, I want to mention this about for all the wood folks. Trace Lumber Tracker came through, and we met with him about this for your inventory. So some of our big slabs, we might run through that thing to have online, so people, if they want, because you see all these big places selling them online. That was something we were considering doing. We've been working on that for a while. I think that's what she's tying together right now.
Yeah.
So for those of you that might have an inventory and not know what to do with it, that might be a helpful one. If you know other ones, I'm sure you should shout them out. But that guy's been helping us out.
I think so. To get back to your thing, one is have quarterly events.
Yes, sir.
And you literally make them art wood parties, and then every week you should
invite some people to do like a podcast.
You should do a podcast, and you could host it in your space too. With like, you have the lumber in the backyard, in the background, right? Like, and then just like make your space like you have a gallery mindset, right?
Yeah, it's curated. This room's laid out.
Yeah, so you could do that, and that will help a lot.
All right, I like that. And I've been taking some time and listening, so I'm gonna run through a lot of what you've worked with other people and try to pick up pointers.
Yeah,
you get caught up in this it's hard. This is a hard thing to run all the time. And, we're 6 days a week. And I'll find myself here on Sunday too. It gets to be a bit much.
For sure.
But I want to take time and learn this connection, a community of like people like you. And there's been several, I've done 2 or 3 podcasts that have like been so insightful. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time. Thank you like letting us have a platform. I feel really local to Indy, and I think this can reach a lot more people than just me posting about what I'm doing around here. So thank you. It's huge.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, I really, I'm a fan of people that make stuff, and especially stuff that, I'm obsessed with the idea of building stuff that outlasts me, right? Yesterday was the last day of.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I started a nonprofit organization. I ran it for 18 years, and yesterday was my last day. And
wow.
And it's gonna outlast me. You know what I mean? And so I'm a little obsessed with this idea of like, let's just build stuff and make stuff that just outlasts us.
I've been on that for a long time. And I believe
you're an artist. You get it. You're an artist.
Yeah. I want to have, what's crazy though? I went from really wanting to like bring my flavor into the galleries. I want to hang next to Picasso and all them. I'm arrogant. I think I deserve to be right there. I don't give a damn. But like, I'm worried about my legacy now. I'm worried about what people think of what I've done.
Yeah.
The wood has opened me up to that more, and really helping the entrepreneurs over the past decade and seeing these chefs flourish. And I got DJ friends that are buying houses. Like, that's crazy talk. My DJ friends are buying creatives. Like, they got jobs, they got money. These clubs got big enough, that these people were eating. Everybody was eating. And the pandemic has racked that bad. I'm worried for some of them, but I am so proud of what we accomplished. And I feel blessed, to be involved with them.
For full-time or retail space, you survived the pandemic. Kudos to you. That's like, you know what I mean? That's great. That's great. And you focused on sales too, right?
Yeah, that's it. Anybody get on them sales. Don't play with that. That's everything. Answer them damn emails. They want to spend with you. They want to support you. You've already told them what you're trying to do. You got to follow up. And the minute that Savannah started helping, it started changing for us. And we're going to be all right, I think. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, thank you so much. How can people get in touch? What's your Instagram? What's your website?
Indy Urban Hardwood is our company name. Indy Urban Hardwood on Instagram. You've got indyurbanhardwood.com. You can look, the Wood Miser. Look up Wood Miser, Indy Urban Hardwood. You can see the video with them. I was blessed, 12-star media. My boys rocking them. They have WhoDocs, watch whodocs.com. That's got the movie on Be Prez on there. It's about the company and the pandemic, what happened. It's a very heartfelt hour. It goes all over the place, but there's a lot of us making stuff. We did a piece for Walter Hood. He's out of Oakland. He's a famous architect. He won the MacArthur grant 2 weeks after we made a piece for him.
Wow.
And like urban lumber, like a Woodmiser saw is on a MacArthur project. Like that's really cool in a way for me to have that come full circle.
Yeah.
So watchwhodocs.com. I'm B Prez. That's another one. That's if you got an hour and you're really into this. Other than that, look us up, Indy Urban Hardwood.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, for your time. I'm excited to get your story out. I think this is going to be a very popular episode, and I'm excited for it.
Thank you, man. Check out them Go Baby Go videos we do. That's where the action is.
All right.
On the Instagram account. You'll see it.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, y'all. Peace.
Thanks for checking out the latest episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. If you found value and love what you listened to, please subscribe, rate, and review so that more people can learn about our mission and vision. Lastly, join our community, the Woodpreneur membership community. It's a marketing and training program to help you market and build your wood business past 6 figures. Give it a test and apply what you learned to your business.